I didn't realize it was a hugger until I was in Bitcoin, and I was like, I need to hug everyone.
Yeah, that was like my first Burning Man experience.
Yeah,
I was not a hugger until then, and then just broken, completely broken.
Love it.
So many hugs this week.
Yeah.
It's been so good.
I feel like this is like the first step of the Bitcoin conference developing into like a Burning Man style.
It's 100%. Look at this.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
is.
We're in a dome.
Yeah,
We're all sweaty. I smell really bad.
we're just missing the dust. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same thing.
The next step is for us to build everything ourselves.
Yes,
There you go.
that's the difference. That's really the difference.
and it's like 1,000 degrees, right? Out in the desert.
Yeah, dust and sun.
But no humidity.
Yeah,
Makes a big difference.
Have you gone to Burning Man a bunch?
7 times.
Nice. Yeah. Did you ever go by the? They had like the weirdo blockchain group where like everybody.
Oh
had
no, I
their
didn't know
shit.
that. I think I started. So I stopped going like 2016. So it's probably like before the blockchain stuff developed. I'm guessing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was out in the desert. I was like pretty far gone, and I like ran into this blockchain thing, and I'm like, I'm like on a trip, and I'm having a good time. And I like run into like one of these blockchain shitcoin founders, and he's like telling me, he's like, oh, like POS is the future, and like we just like battled for like 2 hours, and at the end we were both just like, you know what, like fuck you.
Yeah, that's how you do it. All right, we got Justine here. She's Ms Hodl, and
Yeah.
so let's give her a round of applause.
Thank
Big
you.
Justine. Next, Justine. Thanks for like jumping in at the last minute. This is Erik Cason.
Whoa.
He's one of my favorite Bitcoin writers.
Yeah.
And both of them are working at Unchained Capital, one of my favorite Bitcoin companies. So props to
Recognize
Unchained.
you without your beard.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah. That's like this is how I'm doing my OPSEC is by just shaving my
Right.
face.
Yeah. I did not recognize him at first.
Yeah.
Jan Pritzker. Let's give a round of applause to this guy. All right, he's where's everybody? Where's the love for Jan? At least
love.
Sam
Still
and
love.
Nelson. Yo, Sam, Nelson.
Thank
Give
you,
us a little, yeah.
I just had that moment where like I like know you, but now I was like I'm like, oh shit, it's
Yes.
you.
Yes. Hi.
All right.
I've really enjoyed that experience here so far.
I've met so many people that I know and then don't actually know.
Yeah,
It's been weird.
it's awesome.
Well, it's weird because like I feel like I know these people. I mean, there's sometimes where I don't realize I haven't met you in real
Right.
life, and I'm like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
this is the first time we've met.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
It's very cool.
It is. So what's the word for it? I'm trying to get people to give me like brainstorm this word. We don't have a word for it. That feeling of like
Yeah.
being really close to somebody that you get through, online interaction for years, right? I mean, I work with these guys every day. We're on Zooms, we're on Zooms every single day, usually multiple times a day. Never met him. Walked in and I was like, dude, you're tall. Like, fuck, I didn't realize you're gonna be that tall, man.
Yes, it's huge.
The universal experience of people's proportionalities has been really interesting.
Yes, right? That's part of it. Anyway, we need a word for that phenomenon.
We need to get the memes involved
I think you're right.
in that.
Yeah,
that needs to
memers
happen.
figure it out.
Just put it out there. Yeah. Put it out
Guys,
there.
get super close to the mic. It's still a little quiet.
Sorry.
Like Justine just needs a little quiet.
There we go.
I can yell. Very
Yeah.
loud.
Project.
Yeah. So what's going on in Unchained?
Well, we're clearly taking over this panel along with the world.
Yeah.
But no, we actually just announced our Series A yesterday, so that's been really exciting. We raised money with Inward Dick, partnership with them. Erik may be able to talk a little bit more about that, but we're just growing, teaching individuals about holding their own keys in a really great way, and also allowing you to never have to sell your Bitcoin, which is really just amazing.
Yeah, it's been really a conference and being part of the Unchained team because not only people seem to have a high respect and opinion of what we're doing and trying to teach people how to hold their own keys, but they're really starting to learn stuff like, oh hey, like I can just like take out a loan against my Bitcoin instead of selling it and incurring all of that extra tax that I have to pay. Instead, you can just take a loan out. The other thing that's been really great is seeing how much more people want to get into holding their own keys and how important they feel like that is. Really taking on like. I've always thought of Unchained as being like it's kind of the final stage of your Bitcoin journey where it's like, all right, you get Bitcoin, you understand that you want to hold it, you want to make sure it's secure for future generations. Here's how you can do that. And with multi-sig, it's just it takes that extra terror, if you will, out of holding your own private keys because like I felt really good with private wallets, and then I have addresses that have I don't want to say significant amounts of Bitcoin, but a meaningful amount that mocked me forever because I was dumb enough to destroy that private key.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest fears, right? Like, there's so much personal responsibility in Bitcoin, and then when you tell someone, "Oh, here's a key, don't lose it, or you lose there's no 1-800 number. Good luck."
Yeah.
So with multi-sig, it just eliminates the single point of failure. You can make a lot of human error and still not lose your Bitcoin. You have a number you can call, like, "Hey, I have no idea what a Bitcoin key is. I don't know what a Trezor is. Like, can you help me?" So with our concierge department, we get a lot of people who are terrified to open the box. Like, we've sent them a Trezor, right? We've ordered it from them. Absolutely terrified to open the box. And at the end, they're holding their Bitcoin keys. You know, like they're a sovereign individual holding their wealth,
Awesome.
moving funds off exchanges. My favorite part is like the last 10 minutes when I get to help someone move their funds off of an exchange into a address that they hold the keys to. It's amazing.
That's really cool. That's really
Super
cool.
cool.
That's great. Yeah, I think the user experience of wallets developing into this multi-sig situation where you're not as worried is so important to the progression of like normal adoption by normies, if you will, right? Because it is so wallets are complicated. Multi-sig is still, I think, kind of complicated, but it's definitely getting there. And I do think it's such a big deal for the industry to move forward and get more people to hold their own keys.
Great. Like the type of individuals that we have coming in are not shocking, but I've had like a lot of individuals who they understand the value of Bitcoin, they get it, but without someone to hold their hand and walk them through it, they probably wouldn't be holding it. So that's interesting. I feel like when I first joined, there was a lot more people who understood multi-sig, they understood Bitcoin, but they just kind of like they wanted a little help with setting up multi-sig.
Yeah.
And now we have people who, you know, they see their wealth being devalued and they are moving their IRA into Bitcoin, which is we can help with. So that's been amazing. It's a really cool experience.
Yeah, one of the things I've really noticed in the shift in dialogue from individuals coming through is you know, a conversation that wasn't going on in 2016 or 2017 was this idea of being worried about people's savings being devalued. And that is now like a primary conversation that most people that come through the room are talking about. And I'm really impressed that like we're at this place. Like we're not talking to people about why Bitcoin might be a good storage of value. We're not talking about why it's a good means of payment. People are actually really getting, hey, like this works. I want to put my IRA in it. I want to put my savings in it. I want to set up a way that my lawyer can get this claimed for my kids if I'm to die or something.
Right.
And you know, I was talking to Jeff Andrew before this, that this is one of the most powerful changes that we're seeing right now is people learning how to use the law specifically to protect their Bitcoin in really powerful ways. You know, because once you got that money in your IRA and you buy that Bitcoin, like you have helped change your tax status in a very powerful way for your future. You know, and same thing if you get it in a trust and you give it to your kids. That is going to make their life so much easier when you've kicked off and you've left them Bitcoin that they can actually get it in a meaningful way without just getting taxed out of the wazoo.
And just to throw in, because some people may not know, so there's actually a way that you don't have to sell, like you don't have to cash out your IRA and like take the tax hit, right? You can convert it. And I think that's something that I don't think a lot of people understand quite yet. I get a ton of questions about that. So we actually did a webinar recently because that's just so empowering, right? Like this is your future, this is your retirement.
Right.
Screw the banks, right? Like I was gonna say fuck them. I'm not gonna say that here.
Fuck them.
Probably not.
Perfect. And then you hold the keys to your future, right? You hold the keys to your retirement. It's so empowering. And so every time I get off a client call where I've taken someone from being terrified, right, to feeling confident and holding the keys to their future, it's amazing. So yeah, we're doing big things, I think. I mean, I'm kind of biased, but I think we're doing big things.
I mean, I got to tell you guys, like this is just really cool to actually like be here in person, like
it's
with
really
people
nice.
and celebrating, and like I don't know, something feels so different about this conference from others before, and I feel like it's like the beginning of something really big and powerful, and I'm just really excited to like be here and participating in the dialogue.
Yeah, I think we're at a very early stage in Bitcoin's journey, which is funny because everybody's always like, am I too late to get in? And it's like, are you too late to connect to the internet? Like, you know, like, no, this is actually the beginning. And look at the size of this conference. It is big, but there are billions of people in the world that don't even know about Bitcoin, let alone hold any. And we're so early, and, you know, it's great to be here and be able to build products for people to onboard. And like you're saying, I think, you know, for me, I think Bitcoin's been very successful. Faster than I ever imagined, certainly. I always thought about it as a generational shift. Like I'm saving my Bitcoin for my children. And so I think as Justine is saying about people putting it in their IRAs or in their trusts for their children, it is a really big deal, and I think it is the right way to think about it. If it gets adopted earlier, great, but I think we should be long-term thinkers about Bitcoin and about changing society. It is a society-changing, culturally significant movement that changes how people think about money, and I think we're going to see that evolution as we're building these products, and we're going to see it in the next 10, 20, 30 years. It's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, and I mean, like that statement right there, people thinking about money. Like people don't think about money right now, exactly. And that by the very precipice of what we're doing, presenting Bitcoin and getting people to start thinking about it, it's really interesting in how that that actually changed your time preference. Like you have a much long-term goal going on, and it's interesting how it's affected me personally that way too. And I think that this is one of the most fascinating things to me about Bitcoin is the way that it seems to actually change us, and just time and time again, I meet people that, like you and me, we just went way down that hole. I'm like watching other people like looking down at being like, all right.
Y'all weirdos down there.
And it's just, I feel so blessed to be participating and to contribute and getting people to thinking about this.
It does have that kind of historic feeling. I've heard so many people say that this week, that this is like an historic moment, an inflection point. We'll look back on this in 10 years and think that, this was a really important conference, right? I mean, obviously they're going to be important going up, but this one is different. There seems to be a significant difference between 2019 and today, for sure.
Yeah, and I think, somebody from our team actually mentioned that, the amount of intellectual capital that's aggregated here is like astounding, right? Like everybody's putting their best thinking forward. How do we get Bitcoin, into the hands of more people? How do we get people to understand the importance of sound money, freedom money, whatever you want to look at it as? Everybody's like just committing their lives to this thing, and it's a movement that cuts across walks of life, so many religions, so many political things. Everybody's around for this reason. We're all here for Bitcoin.
I think it affects us at such a deep level, right? Like money, I hate to say that it's the foundation. It's not the foundation, but so many things that we're controlled by our money in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And I think that when you start questioning that, what other things are controlling me? Like what other decisions are controlling me in that way? So I think it does definitely open up your mind to consider things that maybe you didn't before, which I think it's one of my favorite things about Bitcoin in general. It's for everyone. We may not agree with anything. Okay? I may hate you in every regard, but if we have those first principles of Bitcoin and those core values that go along with it, you're my brother, right? It's cool.
Well, to me, this is a big narrative shift that I've noticed in the last year, and that I feel like is such a powerful narrative too, is that it's not just about number go up technology or that there's this potential that you could make a bunch of money, but it's much more this is actually about establishing your own sovereignty. This is about making sure that you have a safety that isn't given to you by your government. It's something that you're actually taking responsibility for on your own. And the thing that's just really blown my mind is people taking this into different fields, whether it be into regenerative farming and addressing how fiat food is affecting us, or people taking it to the medical establishment and utilizing it to kind of question all of this crazy shit that's been going on. And it just excites me that for a long time I felt like I lived in a society where I didn't belong, because I felt so rigid and tight and constricted. And I just feel like I found my people here. And I've been involved in this for a long time, but I really feel like it's been this last year that just all these really beautiful minds have came out and put out their dialogue and their ideas. And it's felt so powerful to have that be well received by the community and celebrated, that they get that. Look, at the end of the day, we don't care so much about, the ability to get rich as we care about the ability to feel free and independent. And it's so powerful that people really get that across the board. And we need that too. In a society that feels so dead and constricted, to have this potential in front of us, my word, I feel very, very privileged to be here and participating with you all.
My word. Great.
Eric almost didn't come too, by the way.
Yeah, I FOMO'd in at the last minute. I had a family reunion going on this weekend.
This is a family reunion.
Yeah, it is.
It is a family reunion.
This is the first Twitter family reunion.
Yeah.
So I was just all mopey about it, and finally my family was like, you know what? Like you're just a stick in the mud. Like go. Like you're just gonna pull us all down, make us look bad. So go have your fun time. And they were right, man. Like this has been. Because for those of you that don't know, I'm based out of California, which we're not allowed to like have gatherings like and stuff. So like this has been my first time really being social in like 18 months.
Yeah,
It's still now.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I'm like it's. I forgot how much I needed that connection. That the actual physical touch of people, and I'm almost ashamed of myself of how much I've forgotten it. So it's great to be here.
Jan, you want to talk a little bit about Swan since you are up here?
Well, yeah, we've been growing like crazy. It's been such an interesting journey because when we started the company, we really, we looked around at other ways to buy Bitcoin, and we thought we could do it better and we could do it more cleanly and more concisely and really explain just Bitcoin to people. But we didn't imagine what would happen in 2020. Obviously, COVID and all that crazy went down. The monetary system just Bitcoiners have been talking about the narrative of money printing and the monetary expansion and debasing on money for a long time. But in 2020, like live, and it was such a big shock to people, I think, outside of Bitcoin, that they all just started saying like, wait, what is happening now? How many trillions of dollars just came out of thin air? Like, where's this money? Why are we paying taxes? Like, people started asking all these questions. We also had this other shift of people like starting to think of what happens to their money? Like, what happens to the money in their bank account? Is it still worth anything at the end of this experiment that we're in, right? And I can tell you that America has not been through this exact weird depressions and monetary expansion, but it hasn't had a proper hyperinflation like like Venezuela or something like that. But I'm from the Soviet Union, and so we've seen this kind of thing happen. What happens with government taking control of the money, completely to the point where, and of course, it's for a good reason. It's for fixing the economy and whatever. But at the end of the day, it turns very badly. So we've seen people start to take money seriously, and I think that's caused this insane adoption from people who are not just just buying Bitcoin to get rich, like you were saying, Eric, but they're actually their future and they're going to pass wealth to their children. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but how do they preserve their money? Or businesses that have worked for generations. We have people here who have family businesses that have they've worked, they've created a savings account, and that savings is not it's at risk, right? And what are they supposed to do? They put it in the stock market and gamble it, or earn 0.01% interest, in their bank. They can't do that, right? So I think we've seen that adoption from businesses and from people thinking about IRAs and trusts and how to preserve their capital. So Swan has become very much a dual, a company with kind of two arms. One sort of focusing on mass adoption and just the average person trying to save $10 a week or $50 a week or $100 a week to the company and small family businesses, trust, and the people who want to think about the future. And that's become a very big part of our business in the last 6 months. And I think it sounds like what you guys are seeing it Unchained as well, where people are really they have that long thinking and have the capital to think about what do I do with this now? I have this money. How do I prevent it from going to zero? And it's been an interesting ride, wild ride.
It's been really wild in 2020 how like in Bitcoin we had this dialogue before about like we're like like helicopter money is coming at some point. But like when they're like straight like mail checks in the mail like more than 1,000, like we're like holy like, wow. Like you guys really wanted to make sure that our narrative got pushed hard.
Yeah, they pretty much ticked all of our boxes. They're like, monetary expansion, UBI, whatever, MMT, all these things are happening, right?
Well, that's one of the things that has me really understand. Like they sincerely have no idea what's going on. And like it's I've been comparing it to the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, and they're like they were told by like other scientists, in this case economists, that like
this is the way.
Yeah, just print out money, and like when you start to see a little inflation, just pull it back.
Just
totally fine. There's no chance it could endanger.
Yeah. We've seen what those pullbacks do, right? They try to tighten it right before I mean, one could say that COVID didn't cause, like there was already a problem brewing in the system in 2019 when they started doing the the pullback, and then the repo blow up, and then pretty much the market started tanking, and then COVID hit on top of that and just exacerbated the problem. But really, the problem was it was going to happen one way or another. It just needed a part.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it was COVID. It could have been something else, but anything would have triggered it. And I think that's the interesting thing is that we are in that world now where okay, people are getting mailed checks, and now what? You can't take those checks away. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get voted out of office if you do, right? You have to keep getting the checks. So now it's like heroin. Like you're just going to keep going, right? So there's almost no way out of it, and that's thank God we have Bitcoin. But yeah, it's a scary world.
Yeah, I think 2020 was a red pill year for many people.
Yeah.
I mean, just seeing the general public be like, wait, you're going to print how much money? And like, wait, we're going to get $600 and you're going to get like what? And so that was actually extremely interesting to me to watch as someone who's, been thinking these things for so long, to see people be like, what the fuck? Like that was actually, I mean, I hate to say that 2020 was a good year. I mean, it was rough on a lot of people, right? But it was very good, in my opinion, for people to start thinking in a way they never have before. And I mean, long term, I think that's beneficial.
Yeah, and I think it also made businesses aware of the value of savings and like planning for downturns, right? Because so many businesses were just wiped out from the shutdowns, and it's because they didn't have savings. They were laden with debt, and that's the world we live in. You're expected to take on debt to expand, right? You take on more debt and you expand more, and if the debt is cheap, then you go all in. You just get as much, mortgage your house, buy as many stocks as you can. Like the system is designed to actually feed on that, right?
Well, I think it also showed that the system hates you, right? Like during this time, the mom and pop shops can't be open because COVID.
Yeah.
But you can go to Walmart with 6,000 other people, and you can. So it was like there was a really clear visual division between the haves and the have-nots, right? And like the middle class and those who are already in on the monopoly. And I think that was really eye-opening for people. Like I think it really did show the system does not care about it. Your government is taunting you with the $600 check because they write multi-million. So I don't know. I think it was very
the wildest thing to me is that the dialogue about how it gets repaid is just totally off the table. Like it is literally non-topic.
Oh, deficits don't matter.
Well, to me, this represents the end of where we've just gone into complete authoritarian mode, where the truth has absolutely no bearing on what we want to do, and all legitimacy is found through those decrees in government. And it's really alarming because, we had the Minneapolis Federal Reserve guy going, we can print infinite money.
Right.
Yeah. People should hear the fact that the guy that's in charge of the money saying that there's an infinite amount of supply, that's deeply, deeply alarming. So it's what happens when the mom and pop shop that does have their savings in dollars, when that gets inflated to nothing? And on your point earlier about the, 2020 really showing how people need to save, I wouldn't say just save, but self-sovereign saving. Because look, whatever your opinion about COVID is, I think the idea if somebody isn't forcing people to wear masks when somebody goes in their business, the fact that the government can attack them, shut down their business, steal their money, that seems pretty wrong to me. And that's something that can happen if you quote unquote break the law. The government can seize your business funds. So I think it's given people a really big piece to chew on for this, to think about what kind of future am I going to go into? Is it going to be one where I can have self-sovereignty over my money, or is it one where, I'm going to have to double check with my government before I go take it?
Right. I just wonder how long until people, you see the narratives about we'll just print more. Like we need to print money. We got at what point are the masses going to say, well, then why do I have to pay taxes? I know we say it.
I know I'm seeing it on Twitter. I've seen it from non-Bitcoiners. I think it's a meme that's already going around.
So how long until that's pushed? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's something that I think about all the time, but I feel like it's become more widespread, and it's just an interesting thing like that. If that's in your narrative, we're just going to print money every time we need it, and we have infinite supply. Well, then why the hell are you taking mine?
Right.
Let me have mine.
Well, and it's a cascading effect too, right? Because yes, they can print the money, and in a way, they're right, because the U.S. is really the source of money for all of the world. So we can kind of print the money and send that out into the world, and maybe we won't feel inflation as badly. And then you have all these people like asking for debt jubilees, right? Cancel student debt and all that. That's going to happen almost certainly, right? Because once you go down that road of populist, movement, it's like, okay, well, yeah, of course, I'd sure, send me a check, cancel my student debt. Why wouldn't I vote for somebody like that, right? Go down that path, and for a time, it seems like somehow magically it's all working. Like, look at this. We could just print as much money as we want. But like, look at the history of any other country that's ever done that. And America maybe thinks special somehow. We have the first reserve currency that's never gonna be replaced. Well, come on. I mean, look at what's happening all over the world. And at some point, people are gonna get America being like in charge of the world's money. You're already seeing it. You're seeing other countries say, "Screw this." Japan doesn't want us to tell them what to do. Look, we may not agree with, but there are people over there that like need access to real money, and for them, the dollar is the real money right now. And what happens when the dollar is taken away? I mean, they're going to need something else. And I think America's on a march that is an inevitable march to losing that reserve currency status. We've abused the money, and we can't unabuse it because every time we tighten, that's it, blow up, right? Our markets are going to tank, and we can't have that.
So are we going through UBI?
I mean, is it not happening? Like, people are getting checks, right? Like, the
I
question
mean, like,
just,
regular.
Yeah, regular.
Every,
I think it's
where we're
pretty,
going, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to happen.
Is that good or bad?
I mean, I could argue both sides of it, right? Because you could say that for once, like, the people at the bottom are finally getting the money, and it's not just like given to the banks. But to Justine's point, they're getting $600 or $1,000, and the banks are getting billions. So it's not necessarily fixing their problems either. It might fix them in the short term. But look at the price of goods. It is rising, and people claim there's no inflation, but look at your credit card bills.
No doubt about
Your Uber bills.
Your Uber bills.
Uber bills in Miami.
I'm a fan of what's going on. I'm kind of a fan of accelerationist theory because like this is just going to speed up and destroy what they're trying to do all the faster. With that being said, it makes me really sad how people are like, "Oh, really? I got like my $600." I'm like, bro, like pay attention to like the $50 billion that like this unprofitable company got. Like how, like the government choosing the winners and losers is what really alarms me because that's gotten to like such an extreme point in time that like Elon Musk, for example, dude hasn't built a profitable company. He relies on government subsidiaries, and somehow he became one of the richest men on the planet doing that. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Misalignment of incentives.
Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, he gets a $10 billion check for his fucking space project. Like, why don't we have a dialogue about people who need food in the United States?
For real, yeah.
And like, that's what pisses me off is that they try to play this ethical or moral card about how what they're doing. We got to help out the little guy. Like, no, it's not. It's about making your rich friends a little richer. I'm like, I don't know. I get so disgusted when I start really thinking deeply about it. It hurts me. There's real people out there that are hurting, and what's our government's response? Give these mega corporations the break to have their business open. But it turns out that if you have a struggling eatery, fuck you. You got to close. You're endangering people's lives with COVID, but for us, it's okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a double standard, and I don't know. I think it's both. Sometimes it's just people trying to grease their friends' pockets, but sometimes it's just like the misalignment of incentive, like Justine said. It's just the government, like people vote people in that are going to do these things for them, and it's a self-perpetuating cycle because government is effectively in charge of money, even though yes, the Fed is independent, quote unquote. It's quote unquote. I mean, everybody knows those quotes are very, very bold at this point. So it's really just it's a self-perpetuating cycle because it just if you have a button and that button says press me and it fixes your current problem, people are going to keep pressing it until it blows up one day, and so they have that button right now, and I think Bitcoin, that's the idea of Bitcoin, is just take that button away from them, or make it not useful. We have our own system. You guys are welcome to continue pressing the button. Please carry on.
We now have our own.
Yeah.
I mean, when this all blows up, like they're gonna blame us, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Because like I legitimately believe that like when it blows up, they'll be like, it's the Bitcoiners' fault.
Yeah.
Like,
This happened in Nigeria, right? So Ray Yusuf was saying, I was in the panel with him, and he was saying that their remittances basically like fell by 98%, all their foreign currency remittances, and it all went to Bitcoin. And so what happened in Nigeria? They banned the Bitcoin. They're like, they started actually like offering people bonuses in their local currency for importing dollars, right? And they're like, no, we need these other currency. We need the dollars. Like, the government needs the dollars, right? They need dollars to circulate in the economy because their currency is destroyed. So they're like incentivizing people to import dollars. And what are people doing? They're like, screw this. No, this is horrible. We're going to use Bitcoin. It's faster, it's cheaper, it makes more sense, it doesn't get debased. We can't trust you guys with the money. That's what happens. And America might be able to play that game a lot longer because we produce, the world's reserve currency. But at the end of the day, it's the same game, right? Like at some point, people are just gonna say, "Screw this! I can't trust this money anymore."
Right. I actually think Americans are gonna hold out a lot longer because, I feel like in Nigeria, and in places in the global south, a lot of people are like, we already know our government's corrupt. They're gonna steal from it. They're more open. Whereas there's still this fantasy that a lot of Americans have, oh no, there isn't corruption in the United States. It's fine. They'd never just print out money.
Do that.
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's the thing that blew my mind when I got into Bitcoin, is learning about Executive Order 6102 in 1933 or 34, whenever it was, when they banned gold, right? I don't think most people know that in America, the land of the free, it was once illegal to own gold, and for a long time. And for me, I'm an immigrant, right? So I came to America with all these fantasies. We were always told America's the land of the free, capitalist, free markets, whatever. And from Soviet Union, it's of course it's night and day, 100%. Still very free, but at the same time, you learn, it turns out America has banned the ownership of shiny yellow metals before, for just the reason of fixing the economy, right? It was all under the guise of, we have a problem, people are hoarding the money, so let's just take that power away from them. And so the power was taken from the people. And we need to restore it. Restore the power to the people.
That's a good mic drop right there. All right. Thanks, guys. That was fun. Really good to see both of you. And glad to hear that you're working at Unchained, man. I think I did know that, actually, now that I had to think back to it, but it's really cool.
It's all right. We all got a lot of sun.
We tried to hire you, man.
I know. And
a long time ago, you weren't quite ready. You weren't quite ready to.
Yeah, they caught me at the right time for the right role. It was serendipitous for me. I'm just. There's such a great team of people, hardcore Bitcoiners, and I just, for me, part of it, part of me coming back into action is I felt like I needed to, help restore my title, if you will, from participating in Coinbase.
You gotta redeem yourself.
I set sail from Coinbase as soon as they started shitcoining.
Dude,
peace out.
That first 15 minutes of our podcast together, the Citizen Bitcoin podcast you did with me, was straight fire. Where you just completely ripped Coinbase.
I remember that.
I was pretty unhinged because I was pretty salty and had some chip off my shoulder.
Yeah, you had to get it out.
But yeah, it felt good. Thank you for that cathartic.
I appreciate it. I actually was listening to it to edit a little bit, and I DM'd you. I was like, "Are you sure you want me to publish all this?" He's like, "Yeah, go for it." All right.
No, all right. Great. We love Bitcoin-only companies. This is the way.
This is the way. All right. Thanks so much. We got one more panel, and then we're going to close it out. This was a lot of fun, though. Gosh, it's going to run all day, both days.
Yeah, seriously. You've been on a marathon, man.
We had some fire sessions, too. Earlier today, it was unbelievable. In Alden, and yeah. Okay. I am fading. I'm trying to find Brecky to host this last session.